Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to this week's roundup. As ever, I've got 6 stories for you today. That's 3 main headlines and then 3 more in the news in brief a little bit later in the video. But first up today, Helmut Marko has praised Pierre Gasly for his recent run of form and is adamant the Frenchman is staying with AlphaTauri for next season. Yes, Marko is praising Gasly. As you'll all know very well by now, Gasly was bumped up to the main Red Bull team for 2019 following Daniel Ricciardo's move to Renault, but was dropped mid-season after failing to get up to speed. Since returning to Toro Rosso though, now AlphaTauri of course, Gasly has secured a total of 3 podiums including that win at Monza and has gone on to find some very strong consistent form. As is often the case when a driver performs well, that has led to a lot of speculation that he could look for a move elsewhere, with some, including me to be fair, wondering if a switch to Alpine could be on the cards. However, Marko is clear that is not going to happen for now at least, and explain why he expects Gasly to stay put. He's always on top of his game and in top form. With AlphaTauri, the package fits perfectly, the combination is a great fit. We still have a contract that goes for 2 more years, so I don't know where the talk about Renault came from again. Pierre is the ideal ambassador for AlphaTauri as the slightly fashionable Frenchman, but what is strong is his performance in the car. He lost power in the race in Baku. The fact he kept Leclerc behind was quite a great performance. The fashionable Frenchman. Anyway, so Gasly is staying and he could be there for a couple more years yet. The general impression, though, was that his contract was up at the end of 2021, but Marko says there's 2 more years, so that came as a surprise to me at least. But it is also great to hear Marko praising Gasly's performances for a change, especially given how good he has been of late. As for long term though, when it comes to Gasly, we'll have to wait and see. But although he's happy at AlphaTauri at the moment, that is, whichever way you look at it, still Red Bull's junior team. They're going to want to put some young drivers in there eventually, so he's not going to be there forever. If he can keep up his form though, he could land a top seat somewhere else in the future. As for Red Bull's young driver program and any potential future lineups, Marko added that they have a great pool of drivers, singling out Juri Vips and Liam Lawson, and made it clear that despite some reports of a dwindling pool of young drivers, there is, quote, a lot of talent coming from our own ranks who want to drive the Red Bull. Moving on, and Lewis Hamilton has questioned why Formula One cars keep getting heavier despite the sport's aim of becoming a more sustainable series. The new 2022 cars are set to weigh a minimum of 790 kilograms, which, when loaded up with fuel at the start of the race, will see them as heavy as 990 kilograms. For reference, that is a whopping 99 heavier than the minimum weight regulations at the start of the turbo hybrid era, and as a result of bigger wheels and safety improvements, the cars will need to meet a new minimum weight target that is 38 kilograms heavier than the current cars we have on the grid. It's getting a little bit ridiculous, and if you'd like another comparison, prior to the ban on refueling back in 2010, the minimum weight target for cars was 605 kilograms. That is a hefty 185 lighter than the 2022 cars. And Hamilton has admitted to being confused by the whole thing and does not believe the sport is going in the right direction. I don't understand why we go heavier, particularly when there's all this talk about being more sustainable. By going heavier and heavier, you are using more and more energy, so that's not really going in the right direction or the right thought process. Lighter cars were more nimble and nowhere near as big, so racing and manoeuvring the car was better. Monaco was always relatively impossible to pass at, but now the car is so big that it's too big for the track. As I said, as we get heavier and heavier, that's more energy we've got to dissipate, bigger brakes, more brake dust and more fuel to get you to the location and so on, so I don't fully understand it. I know many of us F1 fans share the same view that the cars are too big and too heavy, and that does have a detrimental effect on the racing at some venues. Hopefully, though, the introduction of cars that are, in theory at least, easier to follow will solve some of the problems on track that result from having heavier cars, but I've got to agree with what Hamilton says about the, I suppose you could say, mixed messaging that comes from F1 around sustainability. I mean, we'll see what they come up with to offset the impacts of heavier cars, etc. But just as a reminder, the FIA wants to be carbon neutral from 2021 and reach net zero status with F1 by 2030. Next up, Ferrari boss Mattia Binotto has said that the team's surprise back-to-back pole positions do not reflect the car's true performance, but he does feel the team is back on the right path following a difficult season last time out. In Monaco, Charles Leclerc claimed pole position but couldn't start there, with teammate Carlos Sainz taking second place in the race, and in Baku, Leclerc took pole position again before going on to finish 4th on Sunday. It was, by the way, also the first time since 2019 that Ferrari achieved back-to-back pole positions. Despite that apparent upturn in form, though, Binotto remains cautious but very optimistic. There are 2 cars ahead of us which are still stronger, no doubt. It was great to have pole position both in Monaco and in Baku, but I don't think that is reflecting our true performance overall. So I think there are two cars which are stronger. But we are progressing. We are progressing because eventually we are learning the car, we are exploiting it better compared to the start of the season, and we know that there will be some developments coming in the future. So overall, I think that's where we are. Just on the team's race in Baku, Binotto admitted that he expected more on Sunday, but as all teams tend to say, he vowed to look through the data and try to find areas they can improve on for future races. Still though, gotta be said, Ferrari has scored 94 points so far this season. That's from 6 races. And despite some of the disappointment around the result in Baku and the frustration of Monaco for Leclerc, the team is only 37 points behind its tally for the whole of 2020, and we still have provisionally 17 races to go, 16 if they don't replace Singapore. It really has been a strong start to the campaign for the Scuderia, and I don't think they should be too disappointed given where they were 12 months ago. But this is Ferrari, and I guess you could say it for all teams, but certainly with Ferrari, they want to be at the top and they are expected to be at the top, but they shouldn't be too disappointed. Right then, let's have a look at 3 more stories in brief. There was some surprising news from Williams this week, as it was announced that Simon Roberts, who has been holding the role of team principal, has actually left the team with immediate effect. Like I said, I did not see this one coming. Roberts joined Williams last summer before taking on the role of acting team principal following Dorilton Capital's acquisition of the team. That was made a permanent position for 2021, but following an internal restructure, he has now left the team. Chief Executive Officer Josh Capito will now hold the role of team principal, with FX de Maison being responsible for both the trackside and engineering divisions. And on his departure, Roberts said it had been a pleasure to hold the role he picked up following the Williams family's departure from the team, but with that transition now well underway, he is looking forward to a new challenge, with Capito adding that Roberts had been an integral part of the transition and thanked him for his contribution to Williams. McLaren Racing has announced that it will be expanding its motorsport interest by entering the Extreme Chi Championship, or if you prefer Extreme E Championship, for 2022. Extreme E, just in case you didn't know, was launched last year and sees teams race off-road electric SUVs in some of the most remote locations in a bid to highlight the impact of climate change. The series already boasts having teams run by Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg and Jenson Button, and now McLaren is getting in on the act. The team will become the first F1 operation to take part in the series, with Zach Brown saying that their attention was drawn by the format of the platform, but in particular, quote, the ability it gives us to accelerate and boost our own overarching sustainability agenda, which shares the same priorities of decarbonisation, waste reduction, diversity and equality. As of now, though, the team has not yet announced who will be racing for them. I know a Belgian driver who's pretty handy who could maybe race for them next year, but anyway, McLaren has been looking to expand into more series in the future, with talk of a Formula E and WEC entry remaining under evaluation at the moment, and no final decision has been made. But if McLaren did go ahead with all of that, we could see them competing in F1, IndyCar, Extreme E, Formula E and the WEC. Now that is quite the motorsport portfolio. And finally, Saudi Arabian Grand Prix organisers have given us a glimpse of the new pits and paddock complex currently under construction as they prepare to host their first ever F1 race in December. A race which, don't forget, will be the penultimate round of the season and will be held at night. Organisers released the renders earlier this week of the new paddock facilities, with the chairman of the Saudi Automobile and Motorcycle Federation saying that the pit building will stand as a symbol of, quote, all that this race represents, welcoming, modern and spectacular. I must admit, it does look very good though, gotta say that. The street circuit in Jeddah, just to let you know, which sits right by the Red Sea, will be 6.175 kilometres long and consist of 27 corners. Yes, that's 27. And it is expected to be the fastest track on the F1 calendar, with an average lap speed of 250 kph predicted. The event is currently scheduled for December 5th, and as well as welcoming Formula One, F2 will also be in attendance that weekend. That is it for this week's roundup then, but you can, as always, let me know your thoughts on any of the stories featured today in the comments section down below. Now, I will be back next week as we gear up for the first triple header of the season, starting with the French Grand Prix next weekend, and that will be followed by 2 races at the Red Bull Ring. Very much looking forward to that. And I do just quickly want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who offered their constructive feedback on the podcast that was uploaded earlier this week. Now, I know we had some issues with the audio, but that was all as a result of the issues on my end. Long story short, we did actually record the audio individually, but after an issue with mine going all robotic halfway through, I had to resort to the backup OBS recording, which meant I got all the interference and lag that came with Discord along with other things as well. Hopefully, that will all be sorted in time for the next one. So thank you once again for your feedback. And to those who are concerned that all my content is going to be longer form because I did a 2-hour live stream on Sunday and a 1-hour podcast on Tuesday, and all my other videos are around 8 to 10 minutes long, don't worry. It'll just be the podcast and the live streams that are the longer form content, as has been the case for the last 4 years. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this video, then please do leave a like, as it really does help out the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.